welcome back to Astro Love Painter. This is NahSeh, your astrologer. So I have a lot to cover on this, the biggest event of 2017, the Leo solar eclipse on August 21st. And as I was looking at this chart, I realized that there was something going on last year with Venus. And now I want to show you a chart from Venus last year at this exact degree of 24 Cancer. And I saw that it was just coming out of a new moon. So, and it was right after, a few months after a series of eclipses. And before I do that, I want you to understand that when we have a new moon, it's very introspective because it's the beginning of the thought, the idea, the inspiration. And then the full moon is where we get to see the culmination of that new moon cycle. So, new moon, we have moon, which represents emotion, sun, which is the egoic expression of ourselves, are together. They're in alignment. And when we get to a full moon, that is when the moon has cycled out, gone past its quarter phase, and then it becomes in direct opposition to the sun. So then you have your emotions out here in front of you and your egoic expression here. And that usually, well, it's always about relating, but usually it's relationship issues. So, and it's not just how you relate to a romantic partner or even a human, but how you're relating to workplace, to health, how you're relating basically to whatever house it sits in, right? So now that I'm seeing this as a Venus story. Since the Capricorn full moon, then we had our first Leo eclipse. We had our on this, oh Lord, I can't remember the date then, but then we moved into our Aquarian full moon on the 7th, right? And that was definitely about the other because we had the lunation in the 7th house of the collective. And then being a full moon, like I explained before, that means that we had sun here, moon here, okay? And that was a Venus story then. Venus is one of the few planets direct right now. We have Venus, Mars, and Jupiter, and that's it. Mercury is doing its final tying up the loose ends within the mind and preparing us for what the 6 months of this solar eclipse is going to bring. So let's look at where Venus was, or what date Venus was at this degree. So here is that chart. Now, when I saw this, I thought, okay, that's interesting. We have Sun and Mercury talking just like we do over here on this upcoming solar eclipse, which we have a stellium in. So that's really dynamic and power packed. And this is all about an expression. This is expressing your purpose. It's putting you on the path of your purpose for the next 6 months. Even if you think you already know, like I think I already know, and it's not just astrology, it's to break down belief systems. But this is going to start defining that better for you. Okay, so let's get back over here because this is really important. So we had Venus at this degree just coming off of a new moon. So I thought, okay, I don't want to get too caught up in what was happening so much in that degree as I recognize this is the beginning of a story from a new moon, right? So that happened on the 4th of July. Now, I thought that was pretty interesting, and I went to go look at my blogs to see what I had written, and my very first blog was after this new moon, and actually, I had just created my website. So, and I had there was a lot of Uranian activity going on then. I'm very Uranian in nature, so I was downloading, and I can't do drugs, so, and drinking, getting drunk doesn't work for me. I just go straight to sick. So I was acting though like I see people on TV on speed or meth or something. I was like so filled with energy that I was up for almost 2 or 3 days. I think I got 3 or 4 hours sleep in between, and I couldn't get up from the computer because I was so obsessed with starting my website and really getting out there. And you can see we had Pluto here. Pluto is obsession. Pluto was opposing Mercury, mind, communications, skills, because we relate that to Gemini. And it had just moved through Gemini. And then we have this new moon, which is the new thought, new idea, connected to Venus, which is our passion in life. It could have been a relationship for some. For me, because this is the only way I can really relate, being an egocentric astrologer, um, this is what sparked my journey with Astro Love Painter. And what's fun is that we have something called a learning triangle. And that's where we have this trine to Neptune, we have square to Saturn, and then we have an inconjunct. So what this does is it creates conflict here, or crisis. Then it's searching for a solution, and then we have a harmonious integration of that. So for me back at that time, had lost my job early March. The gentleman I was with, I had just lost my job. So then he left me, and I was going through this inner chaos and, trying to get the EDD filed and all that and provide for 2 little kids. And I had a teenage girl in the house at the time as well. And she, prom season was coming. It was her senior year. And I was stable prior to this. And all of a sudden, my life was turned upside down. Now, looking back, of course, I can see the beauty. I can see the transformation. It moved me towards creating my blog and my website, and really honing in the practice of using astrology. And now I have the Facebook and YouTube. So amazing transformation. Now, there was a stellium going on here too, and that's similar to the stellium that we have for our solar eclipse. So that's going to be exactly at 11:30 a.m. That's PST time, Pacific Standard. And collectively, it's in the 10th house. So 10th house isn't always just career, but it's how you project yourself out into the world. It's how the world sees you and knows you. It's your fame and how you get noticed. Okay, so this, I mean, if you're in high school, then this is high school, and this is how you are out, with cliques or clubs or sports that you're into. Um, for others, it could be work. For some, it will be, fame and fortune, red carpet, or, it varies. So we have Mercury. We have a new moon, just like we did a year ago, except it was July. And then instead of Venus, we have Mars. And we have Mars conjunct North Node. So here is Venus here to remind us of the story a year ago. And, oh, I believe I saw a trine, didn't I? No. So we have a grand fire trine along with this stellium. Trines are 120 degrees, and they're to be a grand trine, it needs to be in the same element. So this one is fire. Venus reminds us of the story on the new moon, July of last year. So there were actually, that was part of 2 eclipse cycles. And this time around, we're in this T-square with Pluto and Jupiter. And then there's a T-square over here with Uranus, Jupiter, and Venus. So this is, again, love story, transformation. Could also be obsession. That's the lower end of it. Let's not choose it. And then your journey here. Now, T-squares will bring tension. They don't necessarily bring crisis, but tension, for sure. And then we have this inconjunct between Venus in Cancer, and Cancer wants its security and stability. It wants to feel safe. So Venus is looking for that here. And an inconjunct to the South Node. So this is trying to search for solutions out of the past. We need to let that go. Think coming through that Capricorn full moon, moving through, 2 events in Leo, 2 new moons of Leo. We had this new moon inspiration in Leo, and then we had this Aquarian full moon, which tells us to look at what's going on around us and how we're relating to others in a service aspect or among friends and teams, group efforts, and needing to reevaluate that and readjust. And so a full moon doesn't always bring an ending, but it'll illuminate, and you either need to make an adjustment or it's an ending. Either way, it's adjustment, right? So then, looking for a solution here out of the past, having the North Node with this stellium and Mars gives us a drive to look forward, to keep looking forward. T-square between Venus, Jupiter, and Uranus gives us that innovation, the new ideas, the new thought, maybe even some sporadic activity because we have it in Aries here. And wanting to look for that grounding aspect, this wants to make a grand square or a grand cross. It's not going to happen with Venus here because it's going to move too quickly, but stability then comes through Saturn. Saturn trining emotions, and the sun. When the sun and moon are conjunct, when it's a personal horoscope, that's somebody who can they're more aligned with what their needs and their wants are, and they will express it. So here is the expression. Having Mars in Leo, Leo wants to express from the heart, but this can be sort of a volatile energy, which is why it's beautiful that Saturn is here to ground that. And then we have this trine to Uranus, to that same stellium, which again brings that genius, innovative idea. Also can be rebellious. It can be quirky, something very unexpected, non-traditional, right? And then Neptune is in opposition to Mercury. So, let's look at these retrogrades, especially Neptune. Neptune is lifting the veil. Actually, the veil has been lifted off of Neptune. The fog is clearing. Illusions are being seen. Whenever we have retrogrades, that makes it an internal energy. As it is, we're dealing with these non-personal planets that are outer planets Aside from Chiron, that's something that you're going to feel more than the outer planets. But retrogrades bring them into a very personal aspect of your life. So where Uranus is retrograding, that's having you look over the things that you need to reinvent. Chiron, looking inside for the healing as opposed to outside. You're going to have events come up out of the past. Neptune, we've already discussed, and then we have this Pluto retrograde, which is about transformation, and Saturn retrograde. These two I have seen working together the past 2 years in their retrogrades and their directs. So Saturn brings people from the past in. Saturn is Father Time, karma, and these guys, especially having Pluto retrograde opposing the Venus in this T square, because of all these retrogrades, you're looking to the past and trying to find a solution there. But the reason that Saturn wants you to look deeply into the past and is bringing up all these people, old relationships, old situations. This is like that, I feel personally, the last layer of this growth process. And this solar eclipse, everything from the Capricorn full moon up till this moment, is going to clear a path in such a way that you've never gone before. We've had cycles where we look back and we have these retrogrades, and we have them often, especially Mercury going retrograde like 4 times a year. So Uranus and Saturn talking to the North Node are telling you it's time for a new way. You're letting go of all of this. You the anything that is pulling you to look at the past or an old way of being, it's going to move quickly, okay? Actually, let's see when we can expect it. I'm going to say within 3 days. This is a Swiss ephemeris. I use the Cafe Astrology version. So August. Okay. Venus out of that 24 quickly. So by the 25th, when Saturn goes direct, actually, I'm going to make a chart and pull that up for you real quick. Okay. So we're going to have this trine supporting us for quite some time. And okay, so we're out of the inconjunct of the south node, which it didn't show. Really want you to see this and get a picture so you're learning as I'm going through this. Okay, so we're 5 degrees out of that inconjunct, so that tension has lifted. Saturn is moving direct. So not only has Venus moved out of the inconjunct of the South Node, where you're not going to look to the past as much, and I really think the pull isn't going to be as strong this cycle. I'm not feeling it as strong. I'm, I'm, I mean, I feel so much more solid than I did 6 months ago or a year ago. And look at this, the T square with Venus, Jupiter, and Pluto moved out of opposition from Pluto. Any obsessive thoughts? Obsession, manipulation, um, mind games, it's lifting. Okay, by Friday. So just hang in there, guys. Um, I'm gonna I'm gonna go ahead and close right here. I'm gonna give it another look. I do find it interesting that the vertex is in Gemini and that's in a sextile. It's a loose sextile, but it's not in a challenging aspect. But it's Mercury is a ruler of Gemini and Virgo, so the vertex is where we call people in for lessons, as well as the descendant. Descendants are the people we call in for partnership. But this is where we call people in through these retrogrades. So I just think that's a pretty interesting aspect there. If at any time I haven't covered something that is catching your interest, for instance, I just saw the part of fortune on the ascendant. I love when that happens. Um, this is, oh God, this is going to be awesome. Great release from karma. Moving forward, anything that's been holding you back is easily going to be let go. But if there's anything I don't cover, any questions you have, please email me at gmail or at astrolovepainter@gmail.com. You can message me on Facebook. All of my social media is branded under the name Astrolove Painter. So just shoot me a message. Don't use that email from Facebook though. I never check that. So I'm going to close right here. It's my intention to be able to put up a video for you guys of the new moon ceremonies that I use for setting my intention. Again, there I just use these things kind of as a totem or something to focus upon. My faith is not in them, but creating a spiritual practice is very good, and setting a spiritual habit is very healthy. It's where you can get rooted and grounded again when you're going through anything difficult. So I believe we're through it, guys. Um, be strong, keep the faith, peace, love, and light. Namaste.